Can I share something with you that I've never told anyone else? It's a moment so brief that most people wouldn't even remember it. A flicker of time, barely worth mentioning. But for me, it's become the dividing line between who I was and who I am now. My name is Sarah. I'm 28, and this story begins on a crisp October evening in Vermont, with leaves painting the mountains in fiery reds and golds, and the first hint of winter whispering through the trees. I was packing for my flight back to Seattle the next morning. 3 suitcases lay open across my childhood bedroom, clothes and books scattered everywhere. My grandmother sat quietly in the old rocking chair by the window, the one she'd used to rock me to sleep as a child. Her hands were folded in her lap, fingers twisted with arthritis but still graceful somehow. The room smelled of cedar and the apple pie she'd baked that afternoon, my favorite, the scent mingling with the woody autumn air coming through the half-open window. Outside, darkness was setting in, the mountains becoming silhouettes against a purple sky. "You have everything you need?" she asked, her voice soft yet still carrying that stubborn strength I'd always known. "Almost," I replied, barely looking up from my laptop as I checked my work emails one last time. The tech startup I worked for was in the middle of a major launch, and I'd already extended my visit longer than I should have. 3 days to help Grandma Eleanor sort through Grandpa's things after he'd gone, though I'd spent most of that time on video calls in the guest room. "Your flight's early," she said, a statement rather than a question. She knew my schedule better than I did sometimes. 5 a.m., I confirmed. "The cab's coming at 3, so I should probably get some sleep soon." She nodded, watching me in that way she had, like she could see right through me to something I couldn't see myself. The familiar creak of the rocking chair filled the silence between us. I closed my laptop with a decisive snap and finally looked at her properly. She seemed smaller somehow, her emerald sweater hanging loosely on her frame. But her eyes were the same, clear blue, like the September sky we used to watch together when I was little, and she taught me to identify cloud shapes. "I've kept you from your work," she said with a small, apologetic smile. No, it's fine," I lied, thinking of the dozen messages I still needed to answer. "Just tying up loose ends." She rose slowly from the chair, steadying herself before walking over to where I sat cross-legged on the floor amidst my packing chaos. Her movements were careful but deliberate, the same way she did everything. "I made you a little something for your trip," she said, pulling a small package wrapped in tissue paper from her sweater pocket. Inside was a hand-knitted scarf in shades of blue and green, my favorites. "I know Seattle gets damp in winter," she said. "This will keep you warm." "Thanks, Grandma," I said, setting it aside atop a pile of folded jeans. "It's beautiful." She lingered a moment, as if there was something else she wanted to say. Then, unexpectedly, she bent down and embraced me. It was awkward with me sitting on the floor, but she held on tight, her thin arms surprisingly strong. Her sweater smelled of lavender and the wood stove downstairs, a scent so fundamentally home that it momentarily overwhelmed me. "Just don't forget about me, okay?" she whispered, her voice quavering slightly. Something about her tone should have alerted me. Later, I would replay this moment endlessly, searching for the signs I missed. But in that moment, I was already thinking about my 5 a.m. flight, about the presentation I needed to review on the plane, about the endless Seattle rain waiting for me at home. "Don't worry about it," I answered, patting her arm lightly. "I'm just going to sleep. I'll see you before I leave in the morning." She pulled back and looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Then she smiled that gentle smile of hers and nodded. "Of course you will," she said. "Sleep well, my darling." She kissed the top of my head, something she hadn't done since I was a child, and made her way to the door. At the threshold, she paused. "I love you, Sarah," she said, "more than all the stars in the sky." It was what she always used to say when tucking me in at night during the summers I spent with her and Grandpa. Our little ritual. "Love you too, Grandma," I replied automatically, already reaching for my laptop again. "More than all the fish in the sea." She closed the door softly behind her. I worked for another hour, then set my alarm for 2:30 a.m. The house was silent as I finally slipped under the covers of my childhood bed. The quilt Eleanor had made for my 16th birthday pulled up to my chin. Outside my window, the Vermont mountains stood sentry against the night sky, stars scattered like diamond dust above them. I fell asleep quickly, dreams already filling with Seattle skyscrapers and lines of code. The alarm woke me at 2:30 a.m. as planned. I dressed quickly in the dark, not wanting to wake Eleanor by turning on lights. My suitcases were packed and ready by the door. All I needed was a quick cup of coffee before the cab arrived. Downstairs, the kitchen was dark and still. I made coffee as quietly as possible, wincing at every small sound. The grinder, the kettle, a spoon clinking against ceramic. I half expected Eleanor to appear in her robe, insisting on making me breakfast before my journey, but the house remained silent. At 2:55 a.m., headlights swept across the front windows. The cab was early. I scribbled a quick note on the pad by the phone. Didn't want to wake you. Thanks for everything. I'll call when I land. Love, Sarah. With one last look around the warm kitchen that had been the heart of so many childhood memories, I grabbed my bags and slipped out the front door into the cold Vermont dawn. On the plain, somewhere above the patchwork fields of the Midwest, my phone rang with an unfamiliar local number. I almost didn't answer, but some instinct made me press accept. It was my grandmother's neighbor, Mrs. Winters. Her voice was gentle but direct. Sarah, honey, your grandmother is gone. The world shifted beneath me, 30,000 feet in the air. Mrs. Winters explained that she'd gone to check on Eleanor that morning, as she did every day. She found her peaceful in her bed, looking for all the world like she was asleep. But she wasn't asleep. And I knew, with a certainty that hollowed me out completely, that she had known. She had known the night before, when she hugged me tight and asked me not to forget her, when she said I love you, like it was the last time. It was, and I had brushed her off. Don't worry about it, I'd said. I'm just going to sleep. But since that morning on the plane, with strangers sitting beside me unaware that my world was collapsing, I haven't really slept at all. It's been 16 months since that October morning, 488 nights of lying awake, staring at ceilings, watching digital clocks tick from 1 hour to the next. 488 nights of those final moments with Eleanor replaying in endless loops behind my tired eyes. Sleep has become my elusive ghost, glimpsed occasionally but never fully grasped. I chase it with everything: meditation apps, prescription medications, herbal teas, weighted blankets, white noise machines. Nothing works for long. Eventually, I always return to the same wide-awake state, her words echoing in my mind. Just don't forget about me, okay? The irony isn't lost on me. How could I possibly forget when she's become the center of my every silent night? My apartment in Seattle has become a shrine to sleeplessness. Bookshelves overflow with volumes I've read during the midnight hours. The walls are covered with photos I've dug up from old albums. Eleanor as a young woman, her hair dark and her smile wide. Eleanor with Grandpa on their wedding day. Eleanor holding me as a baby, looking at me like I was the miracle she'd been waiting for. And newest among them, the last photo ever taken of us together. A selfie snapped hurriedly at the airport 3 days before that final night. Her arm around my shoulders, her cheek pressed against mine, those clear blue eyes crinkling at the corners. I'm half smiling, clearly distracted, phone clutched in my other hand. Always 1 foot out the door. My colleagues have grown used to the dark circles under my eyes, the way I sometimes drift mid-conversation before snapping back. They attribute it to grief, which isn't wrong, but isn't the whole truth either. The truth is more complicated. It's not just that I miss her, but that I failed her in a moment that mattered. That knowledge sits like a stone in my chest, immovable and cold. The smallest things trigger memories now. The lavender hand soap in my bathroom brings back the scent of her sweater. The creak of floorboards in my apartment building echoes her rocking chair. Even the rain against my windows at night reminds me of Vermont summers when storms would roll through the valley, and she would read to me until I fell asleep, safe in the knowledge that she was watching over me. I've started knitting. My hands are nowhere near as skilled as hers, but there's something soothing in the rhythm of it, in creating something from nothing the way she taught me. Sometimes, in the quiet hours before dawn, I imagine her sitting across from me, gently correcting my technique, her patience infinite as it always was. The scarf she gave me that night, the last gift I would ever receive from her, hangs by my door. I wear it every day, regardless of the weather. My coworkers probably think I'm eccentric, wearing a heavy wool scarf in Seattle's mild spring, but I don't care. It's the closest thing I have to her embrace now. 3 months after she left, I finally returned to Vermont. The neighbor, Mrs. Winters, had been keeping an eye on the house. "No rush," she'd said on the phone. "Everything will be here when you're ready." Walking into that kitchen again was like stepping into a dream. Everything was exactly as I'd left it that early morning. My coffee cup in the sink, the note I'd scribbled still on the counter. Eleanor's reading glasses lay on her favorite chair, a novel open beside them, bookmark nearly at the end. She'd almost finished it. In her bedroom, I found a box on her nightstand with my name written on it in her elegant handwriting. Inside were letters, dozens of them, each dated and addressed to me, some from years ago, some more recent. The last one was dated the day before I left. "My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, then I've gone to join your grandfather among the stars. Don't be sad for me. I've had a wonderful life, full of love and beauty, and the greatest joy of all has been watching you grow into the remarkable woman you are. I've known for some time that my heart was failing. The doctors gave me 6 months last year, but I was determined to see one more autumn in Vermont with you, and I did. What a gift that was. There's so much of life ahead of you, my darling. Don't waste a moment of it looking back with regret. We all do what we can with the understanding we have at the time. You couldn't have known our goodbye was final, and I wouldn't have wanted to burden you with that knowledge. But if I could leave you with one last lesson, it would be this. The work will always be there. The emails will always need answering. The world will continue to spin if you take a moment to be fully present with the people you love. Remember when you were small, and we would lie in the grass and watch clouds drift across the summer sky? You'd point out shapes, dragons and castles and sailing ships, and we'd spend hours just being, just breathing the same air, sharing the same moment in time. Find that feeling again. It's where the real living happens. I love you, Sarah, more than all the stars in the sky. Forever yours, Grandma Eleanor. I read her words through tears, hearing her voice in every sentence. She'd known she was saying goodbye. She'd tried to make it count, and I'd been too blind, too busy, too certain there would always be more time. That night I slept in her bed, surrounded by the faint scent of lavender that still clung to her pillows. For the first time since she left, I slept deeply, dreamlessly, as if she were once again watching over me, keeping the nightmares at bay. But it didn't last. Back in Seattle, the insomnia returned, relentless as ever. The guilt crept back in with it, heavier now that I knew she'd been aware our time was ending while I remained oblivious. Last week, my therapist suggested I write Eleanor a letter of my own. "Tell her what you wish you'd said," she said. "Sometimes we need to create our own closure." So tonight, as rain taps against my windows and another sleepless night stretches before me, I've pulled out paper and pen. The blank page stares up at me, full of possibility and fear. After hours of false starts and crumpled attempts, I finally begin. "Dear Grandma, it's 3:17 a.m. as I write this. I haven't really slept since you left. I keep thinking about that last night, how you held me and asked me not to forget you, and how I dismissed it so casually. Don't worry about it," I said. "I'm just going to sleep." But I didn't know I was about to lose you forever. I didn't know those were our final moments together. I didn't realize that "I'm going to sleep" would become the cruelest irony, because sleep is now the thing that eludes me most. I'm so sorry I wasn't present with you that night. I'm sorry I was more concerned with emails than with the words you were trying to say to me. I'm sorry I didn't look up from my screen long enough to see what was written so clearly in your eyes. The scarf you made me is beside me as I write this. I wear it every day. People probably think I'm strange, but I don't care. It feels like your arms around me, and on my worst days, that's the only thing that gets me through. I found your letters. I read them all in one sitting. Hearing your voice so clearly, it felt like you were in the room with me. You knew you were leaving us, and still, you didn't burden me with that knowledge. You just tried to make our last moments matter. You wrote that I shouldn't look back with regret, but I don't know how not to. That night has become the before and after of my life. The last moment I was whole, though I didn't know it then. But I'm trying, Grandma. I'm trying to live the way you taught me. I've started knitting. My stitches are terrible, and you'd laugh at my attempts, but it makes me feel close to you. I've cut back my hours at work. I call Dad every Sunday now. I'm learning to be present, really present, with the people I love. And most of all, I haven't forgotten you. How could I? You're in every quiet moment, every fall leaf, every star in the night sky. You're in the parts of me that are kind and patient and loving. The best parts of me, the parts you cultivated so carefully all those years. I miss you with an ache that never subsides. I wish I could have one more moment to hold you tight and really hear what you were saying. One more chance to say a proper goodbye. But maybe this is my goodbye, not the one I would have chosen, but the one I have to make peace with. Maybe sleepless nights are the price I pay for the lesson you tried to teach me at the end. That presence is everything. That love demands our full attention. That some moments cannot be reclaimed once they're gone. I love you, Grandma, more than all the fish in the sea. Forever, your granddaughter, Sarah. I fold the letter carefully and place it under my pillow. Outside, the first hint of dawn lightens the sky. Another night without sleep. But somehow I feel lighter than I have in months. Curling up under my blankets, I close my eyes and imagine Eleanor sitting in her rocking chair beside my bed, watching over me as she did when I was small. In my mind, I hear her humming softly, an old lullaby she used to sing, something about dreams and morning light. For the first time in 16 months, I feel my body growing heavy, my thoughts slowing down. Sleep approaches cautiously, like a shy animal unsure of its welcome. Just before I drift off, I whisper into the quiet room, I didn't forget you, Grandma. I never will. And somewhere between waking and dreams, I could swear I hear her whisper back, I know, my darling. Now sleep. And finally, I do.